everyone. Welcome to another edition of Gulfstream. Today, as you can see, absolutely beautiful conditions right now here in Hallandale Beach, Florida, as we get ready to kick off another week of live racing. 3 full weeks remain in the championship meet. We're back to a later post time now with daylight savings as Acacia Clement and Brian Nadeau join you. First post now, 1:05 p.m. Eastern, and we get ready to kick off with some exciting action once again, Brian.
Yeah, without a doubt. And you know, with the Fountain Youth behind us, Florida Derby is front and center, less than 3 weeks away for that. So a lot to look forward to. And as we kick it off today with another 5-day week.
And we will start anew in the Rainbow Six as well. Hopefully it was you that had the winning ticket wire to wire in the nightcap on Sunday. Meant the Rainbow Six was hit for more than 300,000. We start fresh today. 50,000 will be in the gross jackpot pool guarantee to kick off the action. We also have an 8-race card, so do note that that sequence will start in the 3rd race today.
Yeah, firm turf course today, which we're happy about, and there you see it. And it's going to grow quickly. Last week paid it off on Sunday as somebody was fortunate enough. Golf clap to you if you took it down over $350,000. We start anew, and it'll grow very, very quickly as we hope to build a nice jackpot.
We kick off things in the opener on the TAPETA. As you can see early on in the wagering, we have a very short price favorite with Reserve Not Attained, who I think might have been an opportunity to go against.
Yeah.
However, with the scratches, Brian, he'll be a short price. What do you do with him in this early pick 5?
He will be, and here's my ticket. And I always was going against him. 4-6 in the opener. We'll get to it. Back-to-back singles in race 2. Wicked Fast down inside in race 3. Fire and Spice, my best bet of the day. I think you want to single that one because it's going to be a very, very short price. In race 4, I go Faithful Ruler on top. Jockey switch to IRAD ORTIZ. Take note of that. And then we've got a spread, Acacia, in the finale, well, the final leg of the early pick 5. I've got my long shot in here, number 12. Dove in charge all the way outside to Safi. Great to see that the sequence and the card has kept on the turf.
$15 play here as once again we're on the TAPETA for the opener, going about 5.5 furlongs and the starter optional claiming. Of course, scratches change, I think, the dynamics of the race. I mean, you're trying to find some prices. You're still going against Reserve Not Attained. He was my 4th pick, and I scratched into him. But just for me, it was the speed, though he is stepping up off the claim.
Yeah, he was my 4th pick, too, and I scratch into Bam Bam Blue. But with that being said, he's well drawn to the outside because there is speed to the outside.
Yeah.
Henry's World. Some of the other speed came out. But the unknown is that he's not, we don't know if he's going to handle the TAPETA. He's handled everything else he's done, so why wouldn't he? But, you know, we're off the claim here from Marat San Kyle. It's a very, very small sample. The barn's 0 for 3 off the claim, and I just thought at a short price with a bit of an unknown, trying something different, maybe you're allowed to go against him here.
It certainly is fair. He's looking for his 4th win in a row. 8 for 16 lifetime. Cool horse that shows up every time. But Bam Bam Blue, to be fair, as you mentioned, we know he'll handle the surface.
Yeah, and he might trip out here, too. You know, Henry's World down inside should be going early. Reserve Not Attained pressing, maybe dueling him from the outside. Theoretically, he puts Bam Bam Blue in the catbird seat. Is he good enough? I don't know. He rises off a 3L win that was very, very solid.
We shall see if Reserve Not Attained can pick up career win number 9 in the opener. We look to see if Wicked Fast, meanwhile, can keep the win this time as we go on to race 2, going a mile on the turf. Starter optional claiming for 3-year-olds. Wicked Fast will kick it off there, as I know we both like him. And we have the replay of his last race. Now, he was the one that crossed the wire first, was disqualified. And we're going to start with the pan shot and then go to the head-on so you can see what happened. The number 4 there. And basically, he comes out into Steel City Dude, who ended up finishing 2nd. And yes, he was probably always best, I think, in here, Brian. But when you're going this speed, when you're coming down to such a pivotal point in the race, and as we take a look at the head-on, you can see how he really drifted over and stopped the momentum of that foe.
Yeah, no doubt. He was best, and Steel City Dude wasn't ever going by, but I get it. It is what it is. Also what it was, Acacia, was a very, very big move forward for him, Wicked Fast, that day. And if he reproduces that effort, he's going to win, because not only do I think that was the best effort here, he's catching a lot of TAPETA horses playing his game, too.
He is. He's kind of the known entity on turf, so to speak. Broke his maiden on the turf at Belmont, the half-brother to Bobby's Wicked one. Beyond that, we're a little all over the place, which I think is kind of what this race is. I go to King of Truth, who does try the turf for the first time, but there is some turf pedigree in there. There's actually a big dirt pedigree, but there's a little turf in it as well. He's the half-brother to Shackelford. And this is just one that I thought actually should be able to handle it. And stretching out, I like him going a little bit further. Jose Ortiz will climb aboard for Amador Sanchez.
Yeah, and he's probably going to be involved early, too, with the stretch out, as you mentioned, and didn't run poorly at all on the TAPETA, and we say it quite a bit. It's not the end-all, be-all, but if you handle the TAPETA, maybe you can handle the turf all right, too.
You go to the 4, Ghost in You, won on the TAPETA and that off the turf race last time out.
Yeah, he looked good last time. The predictable Safi second out improvement, added Lasix that day as well by Ghost Zapper out of an aptitude mare. So there's a little bit of turf in there, and he's proven routing, too.
KC Chief kind of makes sense as he broke his maiden on the grass. Only other turf start was in Stakes Company behind Grand Sonata, so I think you could be forgiving of that in the Dania Beach try. But he's, I think, the kind of clear-cut pace of the race.
Yeah, he ran very, very well last time. That was that funky kind of race where the leader was a month clear, and he made first run, and he kept on going, and that was a pretty good race at the time for that level. You mentioned he has a win on turf, too, and we can throw out the Dania Beach. He's not that kind of horse. He's with his friends today. He's a player in here.
Tricky little race, but they all have to get by wicked fast as we take a quick time out. Comes around early today, the 20-cent Rainbow 6 after this.
And they're off. Second in the 2-path. Round by first inside. Race. And a quarter of a mile to go, and he's 6 yards out. Last of the 12 as they roll into the backstretch.
Welcome back to Gulfstream today with Brian and Acacia. Race number 3 coming up next. We're on the TAPETA, and this is where we do start today's 20-cent Rainbow 6. $50,000 guaranteed in the gross jackpot pool after somebody took it down on Sunday, and the one, the only Ron Nicoletti has a ticket kicking off here in race number 3 with this Florida bred allowance. And it's good that some things stay the same around here, Brian. We're at 43.20 for the play.
Yeah, so he's got the standard playbook for Ronnie, 4-5 here. We'll talk about this race in a second. He goes down inside Old Town Road, excuse me, and then Unsociable might be loose in that 4th race and could get very brave for Safi. A little bit of a spread in race 5. It's a little more condensed in race 6. I do like the 8 Pinot in a purse. We'll have a trainer stat for Safi on that one coming up. And then a 3x3 late double for Ronnie. Beechnut Trophy is in the mix in there. And then in the finale, he's got, I think Black Swan is going to be really, really tough today. And then he's got a little more coverage as well.
Tough beat for that horse last time out. We'll take a look at that race a little bit later on. 43.20 in the Rainbow 6 for Ronnie. But to kick it off, again, we're going about 5.5 furlongs on the TAPETA. Florida bred allowance for the fillies. And this came up a salty race, too. You and I were kind of talking about it in the commercial. Fire and Spice, and we'll take a look at her last race. Huge performance from this filly who seems to be really trending in the right direction.
Yeah, without a doubt. She's going to be a very, very short price in here. She's all the horse to beat. This is a very, very fast race on the Buyers with an 80, a 7 on the Thoroughgraphs as well. And she had to swing out wide. And you know, you're allowed to think maybe she regresses a little bit because it was that fast of a race. But to me, Acacia, the extra half furlong she gets today is going to help her. And she's trying to run down a very, very good horse who was 7-5 that day and couldn't do it. I thought it was a breakthrough effort. Chris Davis has got a couple wins in the last, 5 or 6 racing days. So the barn is trending upward as well. And this one's got to get it done at a short price to me.
And I know that you can look and say, well, she went from a 42, a 12 to an 80. Yeah. And we're still kind of all figuring out how those Buyer speed figures translate on the TAPETA. But I think visually, too, the race was a huge step in the right direction for her and an improvement from what we saw even in her first 2 races. To me, she's the one to beat. I tried to get a little bit of a price in with the 6 Bunny Not Beast, who I just really liked what I saw from her. She got a 70 buyer speed figure for a maiden 25 debut on TAPETA, beat What's Going On, who came back with a 53, so not as fast in the next race. But I thought she did everything well. She was gutsy in that effort for Kelsey Danner, whose horses do tend to continue on.
Yeah, absolutely, and she's drawn well, too.
Yeah.
It is a good post for her style because she wants to be involved throughout. She can press the speed from the outside. There is speed in here. That's going to help Fire and Spice, too. But Bunny on the Beast, so get Bunny Not Beast, will get first run and can press from the outside as opposed to being inside and being dictated, too. That's not the spot you want to be.
As far as being inside and kind of as far as being stuck and your hand forced down inside. I thought that was going to be the case for Amazing Trip. I don't think she's going to have an amazing trip, but she has so much early speed, and I thought that kind of simplified things. She faced 2 really tough horses last time. Hot Peppers is in such good form. Thought she was just going to send from the inside and try to take them every step.
She has to, because other than that, Tyler runs the risk of being shuffled back, and then all of a sudden you're behind the 8 ball. So he's in a tough spot here. He's got to go. Now, they're only going 5.5, so take a deep breath and hope she lasts, but it's a tough trip to pull.
Consistency as well for Arrow Shape. Placed first through DQ last time out.
Yeah, she's all right, and she's going to sit the right kind of trip, too. And maybe if Fire and Ice doesn't, bounce back from such a strong run, Arrow Shape's got the right flow here to run big.
We stick on the TAPETA for the 4th race. It's a starter optional claiming for 3-year-olds, about 5.5 furlongs, and kicks off today's late pick 5.
$30 play for me, and we'll get to it here in a second in the 4th. The spread is in race 5. Well, again, I mentioned my long shot. Dove in charge for Safi on the outside. I'm a little more condensed in the late pick 3. 8-4 Pinot in a purse on top. In race 7 at 61. Philly Eagles at a price for Cassie, adding Lasix. And here's the single to get out. Black Swan, I think, is going to be pretty short in that race. So I don't think you're getting close to 5-1. So let's try to get some built-in value. Hopefully I'll be alive. We can single her at the end.
Got a nice spread in the early part, so hopefully you'll be holding your breath in the last couple of races, but a nice way to do it, and you'll have, I think, a tough horse in the nightcap. In this 4th race, though, again, we're going about 5.5 on the TAPETA. Let's start on the inside with Old Town Road, because we have his last race, and I thought that this was a huge performance from him. He was aggressively handled off the claim. This is what happens at the start. So you can see early on, the number 3, he's kind of hustled out of the gate, and he's not one that has an abundance of gate speed, but right here, he has to check back really sharply, and it's completely taken out of contention. As a result, has to swing wide. He's coming from really far off of it to try and get up and get the win, and he has to run down those pace setters up front, who are starting to get a little leg weary at this point. And he's closing on the left lead, Brian, but he just does it so easily to go by everyone.
He ran huge that day, Acacia. I think he was my best bet that day, and I remembered at the start, like, oh, this isn't going to work. He was out of the screen, and then there he comes flying, and he basically wins in a canter. So he could have won by more. It was very, very impressive. He steps up. I think he's meeting tougher today, but if he gets that kind of flow again, and there is some speed in here, he's very, very tough right back.
You go to the number 3, Faithful Ruler for Brendan Walsh. I think getting back on the TAPETA should suit him well.
Yeah, we've got a trainer stat, right, for Brendan here, and it's a pretty big one, too. Again, we're kind of finding our way around the TAPETA here, but look at Brendan. He's got a handle for it. Turf to all-weather the past 3 years, 10 for 38, 26% with a huge ROI. I think Unsociable's going early, right? And if he clears, it puts Faithful Ruler in the right spot, hopefully stalking/pressing to the outside, getting first run on a horse like Old Town Road. He's going to be a square price, too. IRAD gets aboard for Luis Sayas, too. Take note.
And I think that he is a horse that's better when he's forwardly placed, too. Thought he was a little bit far back for his running style last time out.
Great.
Speaking of Unsociable, huge win last time out in January. 83 buyer speed figure for that win, wire to wire for Safi. Can he repeat it as he steps up to face tougher today?
Yeah, and I don't know where you've been. It's been almost 2.5 months,
sure.
and
Good
you
point.
would think, it's such a huge win. The plan wasn't to back off. Maybe he just needed a little time. We don't know. And now he's in for a tag. He has, he wasn't. He was on debut. He wasn't last time. We'll see what we get, but he is fast. And if he throws that race down again, he's going to be tough in here.
We go on to race 5. This is a maiden race sprinting on turf, going 5 furlongs. Maiden optional claiming for the 3-year-old fillies. Again, if you're a Florida bred, you don't have to run for the claiming tag. And I think we have some dueling long shots in here. I'll send it over to you first. Dove in charge for Safi Joseph Jr. on the outside.
Yeah, you got to dig. You got to be forgiving. But we know Safi's not a first out guy. He's 10 or 11%. I think he's 5% first turf, too. So let's look at Dove in charge debut back in August against Diamond Wow and Opelina, who are stakes winners and very, very good horses. They'd be 1 to 100 in here. She didn't do a lot of running. She broke from the outside draw. She's going to do it again, but she ran a 15 on the thoroughgraphs. That's what all these horses are running too. Now we're on the drop, and she's also going to run with Lasix and blinkers on. She didn't have it on debut. All right, she's 0 for 5, I get it, but we're looking for a long shot here. Junior gets aboard. Junior is 31% with Safi. It kind of falls through the radar because he rides a lot of other, guys, IRAD and things like that. But boy, you put these two together, it's the type of race, and you're doing it with musical design. It's the type of race where you're allowed to think outside the box a little bit.
Yeah, I think this is the right spot to look around, because I didn't really trust the favorites very much. So I went to a first-time starter who I think is going to take a lot less money than the other Wesley Firster, who we both try to beat as well. And I know you have a stat for Wesley too, but I thought it was really intriguing with musical design. First of all, I liked the turf workouts at Palmettos for this one. And I know he doesn't ride a Misael Jaramillo much, and I think that's a big reason why this one may kind of fall beneath the cracks, or fall through the cracks, rather. Over the past 5 years, they're 3 for 6 together. So the horses that he does put a Misael on tend to run well. And I thought that this one had a nice pedigree for sure. McLean's Music, who can get a lot of nice runners out of a mineshaft mare. One of the siblings won on grass as well. Just thought that this one was going to be a nice price in a wide open race.
Yeah, and the fact that he does put Jaramillo says maybe this horse has got a lot of speed, because we know how good he is from the gate. We'll take a look at the stat. And the stat is probably more towards the 3, who's going to be a short price. But, 6 for 34, and I'm going to use the term loosely, only 18%, because Wesley's 32% with everything he does. First-time turf sprints at Gulfstream in the past 5 years. But Anna and Mia, I'm sure we'll talk about her in a second, is going to be a very short price. Conversely, musical design is going to be a much, much better number. So, there's definitely some things to look at. I've got to use them both.
Anna and Mia, the other one has IRAD ORTIZ. That filly worked 9 and 4 at the OBS March sale 2021, the sale going on this year. So it's taken her a full year to get to the racetrack, which can be a little bit of a question as well. And she was very, very fast in that workout. So we'll see what she has to offer now. We both had some interest, too, in the number 7, Devilly, for Mike Maker.
Yeah, I mean, she's got solid form. She got to the turf last time and ran very, very well to be second. The winner was good that day. There's going to be plenty of speed. She's going to sit mid-pack. There's no reason she can't build on that run with the Hall of Famer, Javier, aboard.
We go on to race number 6 on the main track here. 5.5 furlongs in the starter allowance for the fillies and mares. And we'll start to the outside with the number 8, Pinot in a Purse. This one is so intriguing because she has a pretty good record up at Woodbine on TAPETA. First time for Safi, though. He runs on dirt.
Yeah, let's take a look at this stat, too, and be a little forgiving that she hasn't run on dirt, because they don't run on dirt up at Woodbine. So that's not, that can't be done. Here it is, 7 for 25, 28%. Trainer change Gulfstream dirt sprints the past 5 years. And then this is no disrespect to Ricky Griffith, who's a 14% trainer up at Woodbine and does a very, very good job. This is Safi. This is IRAD. I would think the layoff's not that bad. She's down here to run. The works are fine. I would think she's going to fire a big shot today, Acacia.
Yeah, she looks very intriguing to the outside. I thought she was definitely a huge player in here. Took a little bit of a shot, though, with the 5 She's All Woman, who's first off the claim for Antonio Sano. This is just a mare that's been consistent. I think she'll be tested a little bit for class in here, but she has back class with the races that she was running in and hitting the board. Jose Ortiz up in the saddle, and I'm hoping that it's just a case that they've kind of got her back in the right groove. She's running good races, and she could keep that momentum going.
Yeah, I mean, Antonio does not claim a lot of horses. It's just 1 for 12, but I love this claim, though. He claims her for 12.5 from Safi and Frank Calabrese. Wheels her back on 12 days. Wheels her back in a spot where she cannot be claimed. So there's some confidence there, and he wants to keep her around the barn, too.
Meanwhile, the number 4, Gitana, I have to imagine she's going to be on the engine early.
It's a send mission. How far does she go? We don't know, but they're only going 5.5. We know they can get brave on this main track.
On the turf for the 7th race, this is a nice one here. About 7.5 furlongs on the grass for fillies, 3-year-olds, and this has a race full of quality. Let's start. You do not like American Heroine at all.
I've got her 5th, and I think that makes my. You said that with a little animosity.
Because I thought but I thought for sure you'd have her somewhere.
I just didn't trust anyone in this race. I wanted to look for a price in this race. The dark start landed on Philly Eagles. Lasix, the stiff stakes drop.
Yeah.
You know, she's been facing much, much better. Lasix, like I said, I think she can wake up a little bit with Lasix. There's also, theoretically, there's some speed in this race, and I know it's bold to think that sometimes, because sometimes we think there's a lot of speed and somebody gets loose. Yeah. But Philly Eagles, to me, she's never been in this light, and maybe she wakes up because of it.
I think it should be, what's going to be most interesting for me as far as Philly Eagles is, does she improve, A, with the class drop, as you mentioned, and B, getting Lasix today? Because she's one that I never loved her in New York. In her 2 races at Belmont, obviously she was facing really tough company in those 2 stakes tries. But in both of those races, I just had really big reservations with her. And I know she ran 4th in the Miss Grillo. I'm curious to see which of those fillies will train on out of those 2-year-old stakes races that time of year. So I kind of put her in 4th. It was either put her in 4th or put her on top, given what she's been facing. American Heroine, I think she's going to love getting back to the turf and 2 turns on the grass. Just felt like that last race, yeah, she had to work for it, but I don't think she's a TAPETA horse. And kind of as we were talking about, how did those TAPETA figures stack up?
Yeah.
And visually, I thought the race was better than maybe the figure may suggest.
Yeah, and she gutted it out last time, and like you said, probably didn't handle the surface as much as she likes turf. Ran very, very well on debut at what's a tricky distance, and she didn't have the best draw that day. So she's certainly in the mix here. It's a race where, you know, this entire group is relatively bunched together.
Yeah. Beach Nut Trophy, meanwhile, she broke her maiden nicely last time out. She beat 3 next out winners, including Beside Herself, who looked pretty good for Todd next time out.
Well, she did, and she ran off the screen next time out. Now she came up against it in the stakes, but we won't hold that too against her. Beach Nut Trophy is well drawn. We're going to get Lasix too, and that race she ran last time, if the buyer, you know, 71-13 on the thoroughgrass, it just puts her firmly in the mix. It probably puts her as the one to beat in here. But again, she's another one in here that's taking on winners. Running Legacy does the same, and that could be a little bit of a rude awakening.
If you're looking for one that maybe has some experience, has 2 wins already, the number 2, that ain't too shabby. She's had 2 victories, and she's the only one in the field to do it, both of those on turf. Thought it was just worth a little window dressing to show her last race, because I thought she did it pretty nicely too. This was after stepping up after breaking her maiden for 35 as well. Mark Cassie and Edwin Gonzalez, as we know, have had a terrific meet together. She was bottled up through most of the stretch. I picked it up at the half-mile pole, Brian, because she just never had anywhere to go and looked like she was just dying for a spot to run, and Edwin had to wait and wait and wait to give her room.
Yeah, and she absolutely exploded when she finally did get out. Added Lasix that day, so now we've got that. She's 2 for 2 over the turf here at Gulfstream Park. So there's plenty to like. She was not in for the tag that day, and now obviously she rises in class. She was really, really good here. And like you said, I think it's something that sometimes gets lost when you're handicapping. She does have the 2 wins. The rest of these gals all have 1, and with the exception of Lover Lots, and that's a big deal in here.
If you like her, she'll be a bigger price today than she was last time as well, in a salty 7th race there. We wrap up the day on the TAPETA. About 5.5 furlongs in this maiden claiming for 16,000. And this one is, I think, centered around Black Swan. She and Soupster come out of the same race, and I'm taking a little shot with Soupster today. Black Swan, I know we both liked last time, and this was a tough defeat, as we'll take a look at that race back on February 17th.
She ran really, really big, and you're going to see both of these, you know, and Soupster ran well too, but boy, Black Swan, you know, on the drop that day, and kind of chasing early, making first run, and just getting run down a little bit. But I thought it was a really big effort occasion. I think if she builds off it, the rest of these are in trouble.
And you do make a good point. You could see a 35-1 shot was setting the pace. So she was the one that kind of inherited the lead first, whereas the winner, Lena the Lion, closing on the outside. Wanted to show this point at Soupster, though, because she's in that compromising position in the green and yellow cap, being down in between horses. And she never looked like she was really game enough or comfortable enough to try to run between horses. So thought that these 2 were major players, but Black Swan the one to beat.
Yeah, and Soupster even checked the hair there too. You could argue maybe she even would have gotten by Black Swan as well. And if somebody softens up Black Swan again, you know, it puts Soupster in the right spot. What do you do with Dreaming of Audrey? I don't know. 0 for 15.
She's a tough one. She was claimed by Jose D'Angelo, was 30 cents to the dollar last time. It still couldn't get the job done. I think you have to give her another look to grab a share, as 6 out of her 15 starts have been in the money finishes, but she's tough to trust as a win prospect.
1 to 5 in a 5-horse field too. I mean, if at least Jose got a lot of improvement out of her, and you would think we're going to see her best here again today, but the losses, I don't even think they're starting to add up. They have added up.
They have. Meanwhile, Lemonade Lady off the claim for Saffie Joseph Jr. as well, second off the bench. She could be intriguing as far as maybe she's going to be a little bit more forwardly placed again today.
Yeah, probably, and she's second off a long layoff, so maybe Saffie claimed her at the right time. We can get improvement, but she's going to have to move forward to play with the tops.
That is the 8-race card today on Wednesday. As you can see, there's some really fun races to look forward to, but we have the lightning round to go through as well. And as we often do at the start of the week, let's check in on the standings.
Yeah, and Luis is just very prolific here. I think we're going to see him again Friday, actually. He's off his 1 mount today, and he's just lapping the field here. Tyler Gaffalione now got some separation. The podium spot will be interesting with, maybe Jose can make a run at IRAD.
Yeah, it makes things interesting there underneath. But Luis Sai is pretty comfortable with 3 weeks to go in the meet. As far as the trainer standings, meanwhile, it's been fun following that little battle at the top between Todd Pletcher and Saffie. Saffie 10 up now.
Yeah, it's not over, but, Saffie's just going to run more horses than Todd. But the meet Todd has been having is just, it's really, really strong because he's not the day-in, day-out numbers. And look at Antonio. I mean, he is the day-in, day-out guy, but now he's got arguably the favorite for the Florida Derby. So kudos to him and Mark Cassidy, and there's Jose doing what he's done.
Well, we love following horses that have run here at Gulfstream and seeing them go on to do big things. Not only is she a champion, but Cece showed last week she could get 2 turns as well. Yeah,
our Princess Rooney winner, and got the bid to the Breeders' Cup off that, and won the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Sprint. And here she is now, and it'll be interesting to see what her connections do. Michael McCarthy, I would think she comes back, to run in the Apple Blossom at Oakland, but now she's getting 2 turns, showing she can do just about anything, and she was very game and so it was cool to see her here last year and see her go on to big things. Champions, like you said.
Yeah, absolutely. As we are 3 weeks away from the Florida Derby, but that means we're not too far away from the Preakness Stakes either. And there's a way to get involved leading up to the Preakness.
Yeah, I believe voting closes on the 20th, so you can check this out. Voting for the Preakness Art by students from the Maryland Institute College of Art. I believe the first place finisher gets $4,000. And you can see a lot of the great art there. Go check it out on the website and, vote. It's a good cause.
Yeah, we love seeing how much the Preakness involves the whole community in Maryland as well. But as mentioned, 3 more weeks, Florida Derby coming up April 2nd, and you can get involved as tickets are on sale and some big names gearing up for the big day.
Yeah, I think we got a little footage of White Abarrio, right, who is kind of sort of the forgotten horse. He won the Holy Bull, which seems like about 5 years ago, but the plan all along was to ready for the Florida Derby, and I'll let you take it over from here. You're a lot better at this than me. Looks pretty good to me.
Oh, he looks terrific. And you will often see Saffie Joseph Jr. horses. They work sharply on the main track here at Gulfstream, but this guy, he's doing it so easily. And yeah, he got a good trip in the Holy Bull. We did see Giant Game displace his palette. Simplification didn't break that day. Simplification coming back to win the Fountain of Youth, but it was a big performance from White Abarrio, and excited to see him and Simplification go head-to-head again in the Florida Derby.
Yeah, I mean, everything you said is right, but Simplification flattered him, and White Abarrio did it the right way, too. There's no doubt about that.
Certainly did. We'll have a big lineup there for Florida Derby. Of course, we'll keep you apprised as we get closer to that run for the Orchids. But in the meantime, we have an 8-race card coming up. Ron Nicoletti will be joining us. And for now, we send it up to track announcer Pete Aiello for Scratches and Changes.
I remember the first time I came to Gulfstream, it was like this big fairy tale place.
We back.
Northern Dancer, winner of the Florida Derby.
Yeah.
All the history, all these great horses, trainers, jockeys.
It is Barbaro to the final furlong. He is a neck in front. Barbaro wins!
It was everything that I ever dreamed of.
Sunday silence surges to the front.
First day, opening day of the championship meet, I was kind of starstruck. You're watching LeBron James, and then next thing you know, you're playing basketball against him. That's how I felt when I'm riding with Donnie V, riding with IRAD, Luis.
So many famous people come, Post Malone, Pharrell, J-Lo was there. It's epic.
The weather is beautiful. The facility is phenomenal.
It's all about Knicks Go. Knicks Go makes it 4 in a row.
It's one of the most beautiful tracks in the country, surrounded by some of the greatest horses and riders. It's amazing.